Radio.
You're listening to Cryptocurrent, the only podcast that explores the bold projects, exciting opportunities, and the growing reach of blockchain and cryptocurrency. Whether you've got skin in the game or you're just crypto curious, keep an open mind, enjoy the conversation, and stay cryptocurrent. Now here's your host, Richard Carthon.
Hey everyone, we're excited to announce our partnership with World Blockchain Summit Asia. WBS, organized by Trescon, has been an integral part of the global crypto and blockchain community, hosting over 15 summits around the globe thus far. WBS Asia will take place virtually on July 16th, 2020, featuring the most influential voices in global blockchain and crypto communities such as David Chum, Roger Ver, and Tim Draper, and many more. For more details, visit asia.worldblockchainsummit.com and use our exclusive coupon code CC10 to get a 10% discount on tickets. And now for the show. Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Cryptocurrent. Your host here, Richard Carthon. And today, got a very special guest with me based out of New York. We have Michael with Fireblocks. How you doing today?
I'm doing well. Thanks for having me.
Of course. Well, before we go ahead and dive into today's episode, how about you give us a little bit of background on yourself?
Sure. I spent the last 20 years in the cybersecurity space, mostly working for law enforcement agencies in the cyberspace. And then in 2011, I started my previous company. It was focused on cybersecurity for mobile devices for enterprise customers. We worked with a lot of banks, insurance companies, big high-tech companies. In 2015, we were acquired by Checkpoint, which is one of the biggest cybersecurity vendors. And I was running their mobile and cloud security business for about 3 years. And then in 2018, we basically started Fireblocks with two of my co-founders, and currently I'm the CEO and co-founder of Fireblocks.
Gotcha. Okay. So give us a little transition into, what was your very first introduction into the cryptocurrency and blockchain space? Like, how did you first hear about it? And then what made you want to get more involved?
Yeah, so that's an interesting question. To be quite honest, I think the first time that I heard about Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies was actually in 2011. And I've tried to buy a bit of Bitcoin myself, but funny enough, I was just traveling, and for whatever reason, I didn't manage to pass the KYC for, potentially it was like Mt. Gox. I don't even remember where I was trying to buy it. And I wasn't really involved in the Bitcoin and the cryptocurrency space for a while. And then in 2017, when I was working for Checkpoint, because we were sort of one of the biggest cybersecurity vendors, and specifically my team was one of the world-leading teams in researching mobile security attacks and mobile breaches, we got pulled into an investigation around the breach that happened in South Korea. So 4 exchanges in 2017 for cryptocurrencies exchanges in South Korea were hacked by what later on was discovered to be the North Koreans, and about $200 million worth of Bitcoin were stolen over there. So we were part of that investigation team that was trying to understand what exactly happened. And that sort of like drove my attention to the space and to the ecosystem and to everything that was going on. And I started to basically educate myself around blockchain and Bitcoin, and talked with a lot of institutional parties that were active in this space. And I think that essentially what pulled me into getting involved and doing what we're doing now.
You're working on another company, and all of a sudden you're put on this pretty tall task of figuring out what happened, and you discover the Korean attack or whatever, how they were able to, like, from a security standpoint, do all this. You're like, wow, here's this opportunity in this newfound technology. Let me educate myself, and now let me create something that can be beneficial to others. So was that like the premise of Fireblocks? So tell me about, like, how did you come up with the concept of Fireblocks and how is it being used today?
Yeah, so that was more or less sort of what happened. Essentially, what we understood is that there's, in 2017, most of the solutions out there, whether for consumers, retail investors in cryptocurrency, or for even the high-end institutions like the big exchanges, they were mostly relying on, I would say, two things. One is like a cold storage or hardware keys that they were used to store the assets. And first and foremost, it was very clear that this kind of technology or this kind of sort of capability is not really sufficient for the use cases that crypto was designed for, right? You have this virtual asset that's supposed to be the internet of money, but what you're actually asking people to do is to disconnect from the internet, right? And basically create an environment that is fully isolated from everything that is online. And that made a lot of sense. And the second thing that we discovered is that the actual issue or the security issues or the operational issues that folks had with crypto and Bitcoin and blockchain were actually not specifically around how they store the assets, more around how they can transfer those assets securely, right? So I strongly believe that the main use case still of a lot of those cryptocurrencies is around transfer of value, whether it's payment or whether it's other use cases. And in order for this to actually function, you need to be able to move those assets really quickly between, if you want to pay someone with stablecoin or with any other asset, you really want to do this action quickly, and you want the value to move immediately to the other party. And right now, sort of the protocols or the system is not really designed to do it, because you have a lot of issues around deposit addresses and spoofing and human errors that exist during that. And what we essentially created is a solution and essentially a network that allows, at the moment, primarily institutions, but we do see how we can sort of extend it to the B2C use case as well, to really quickly and securely transfer those assets and store those assets in a storage that they are immediately available and yet secure.
Right. And I mean, even when I was like first looking into Fireblocks and just digging some information, you bring up a really good point and a challenge that I definitely faced when I first got into the crypto space, of the stress that you have when you're trying to transfer money either from your crypto wallet from an exchange. So for me, it was Coinbase, and then I had a cold storage wallet, and I was sending myself money, and it was stressful making sure that my keys lined up and like understanding like here's how it works, and there's a transaction fee, and like all of these elements. It is a high friction and not very easy initial experience to figure out. And it seems like you've done, and what Fireblocks has done is create a more frictionless and more easy and secure way for people to send them either themselves money or send others money in a very secure and easy way.
Yeah, exactly. So I think that at the end of the day, it all boils down to efficiency and user experience, right? So I think that there are still a lot of comments around, is crypto is sufficiently simple, right, for common people to use and to jump in. And it doesn't have to be my grandma. It can even be just regular folks that are involved in finance or merchants or whoever. That we definitely see that crypto, stablecoins, blockchain, although those technologies are really going to simplify, create transparency, create access, make it cheaper for folks to operate. But simultaneously, if it's so complicated to understand how to use it, if you have so much room to make an error that will end up in sort of a full loss of that transaction, then clearly you understand why we don't see this mass adoption.
Definitely. I mean, and that's the point of all this right now, is we have to get to the point where it's easy and the user experience is you can come on and not really need a whole lot of directions and understand what's going on and how I can use this. And it sounds like what you were doing is trying to create that experience and security to make sure that whoever comes on and uses Fireblocks is able to securely exchange their assets in a very easy fashion.
Yeah, exactly.
So with that, one of the things I was curious about, though, you've been, as you said, you've been in this space for quite a while now. What are some different or various projects that has your attention at the moment?
So I think, for us, we still have actually a fairly long roadmap in terms of creating essentially opening up the technology and opening up the networking capabilities to introduce more and more market participants into Fireblocks and to the simplicity and the security of moving those assets. But I think through that. Through that activity and through we actually being exposed to quite a lot of different projects and initiatives. So some of the things that we are really excited about, I mean, not to say that are new, but I think that they are picking up and are very interesting. For example, DeFi technologies, specifically one of the projects that I'm most excited about is a project called Compound that is a decentralized lending and borrowing platform. We actually released an integration with Compound a couple months back, and we see the adoption and the institutional space, and sort of fascinating what they're able to do, and essentially how they are really able to show that you can disintermediate traditional functions that were usually centralized. So that's probably one. There's another really cool project that. It's called X Margin, a startup that what they do, it's mostly for the institutional space. What they're building is it's like cross-margining capability that active traders can basically operate in a very efficient way across multiple exchanges and take positions. So what they are basically doing is that they are reinventing the way that prime brokerage looks like in the traditional space. They're basically disintermediating that function and bringing it to in a much more native way to crypto. And just like in a very high level, the area that I'm probably most excited about is the area around stablecoins, where I think Libra is making great progress in terms of being ready to launch. And clearly, there are other projects like USDC, and we're seeing more and more of those FX currencies being launched. And for me, this is one of the most exciting use cases because you really you see the impact in terms of how it optimizes and innovates payments and cross-border payments and just makes things much more simpler, cheaper, and faster.
Yeah, and appreciate you speaking on those three various projects. And actually, I want you to expand on this a little bit more because there is quite a few stablecoins out there, and it seems there are a lot of opportunity in that space right now. And what is it specifically? And I know you said cross-border and the fees being less and just making everything simpler, but what is it about the stablecoin that you think, or stablecoins in general, especially even like a Libra, that you think is just going to be a game changer in this space?
Yeah, so maybe just to give some idea of what we are seeing, right, from where we stand. So in terms of Fireblocks, we currently securing $9.5 billion flow per month, right? So like last 30 days, we basically secured, or from our wallets and through our network, $9.5 billion of digital assets were transferred. Now, clearly, still the vast majority, I think 60%. Yeah, yeah. It's like it's a fairly large amount, and it's actually growing almost it's almost doubling every 2 quarters, right? So in the beginning of this year, we were at 4, and now we're already at 9. So it keeps growing, which is great. But the interesting fact is that, well, 50 or 60% of it is still Bitcoin. Almost around 20-something% is actually stablecoin. So last time I checked was $1.8 billion out of this 9 billion was a stablecoin volume. Tether is still the king, right? So USDT is still probably like 70%, but the amount or the ratio of USDC, the Circle Coinbase stablecoin, is actually growing. So it's now, at least like in our flow, it's about 20% at the moment.
Okay.
Now, when you sort of start looking into why people are using it, right? There is clearly a lot of usage of those stablecoins in terms of at the moment on the speculative side, right? So basically hedge against the movement of the traditional assets. Not the traditional assets, to hedge against the volatility of the Bitcoin. But we do see quite a lot of sort of cross-border movements. At the moment, specifically, I think around the areas where those movements are quite expensive, where there are capital controls, where there are the fees the fees to basically get just regular currencies in and out from a country are cost prohibitive. So we see those things, which, I guess they somehow fall into the categories of remittance. And also we and others are currently sort of in the early stages of leveraging stablecoins for just regular payments. So I'll just give an example. We're actually incentivizing our customers that are paying us monthly. Our customers are paying us monthly, and the contracts. I mean, our contracts are quite large, right? So they pass. It's like quite a few of them are paying thousands or tens of thousands of dollars per month, right?
Okay.
And while traditionally people would do those payments through wire or ACH. The problem is, let's take wire as an example. So if we have a customer in France that is paying us to our US bank or to our Israeli bank, then it usually would take 3 days to appear in our bank account. We actually don't know when it's going to show up, and we pay around $100, right, for that transfer. With stablecoins, so now we're basically incentivizing, or we're asking our customers to pay us with stablecoins, with mostly USDC or PAX. And it takes 15 seconds. It costs usually less, depending on the fees, but usually it will cost less than 15 cents to basically sell the transaction. And just instantaneous, we can track it. Just beautiful. I mean, the fees that you save, the speed, sort of shows you where the future is.
For sure. And I think the power in that is speed, convenience, and affordability. And especially from a security standpoint, when you think about a bank in the first place, your ACH and all that, you're just making sure that you can securely send usually a good amount of money. And even though technically 2 or 3 days is fairly quick from a banking standpoint, the fact that you can now do this in minutes or hours compared to days, it's just so
seconds.
Seconds.
Yeah, it's sort of seconds with all the ERC20 based tokens, and things like Libra or Algorand. They're going to basically move it to a second or a split of a second, right?
Which is incredibly powerful and definitely something everyone here listening should be paying attention to and keeping it on the ground. So appreciate you putting that on our radar. But Michael, really appreciate all the information you've dropped on us today. And I really would like and appreciate if you would leave a final thought with all of our listeners here today.
Yeah, so I think that the next 12 to 18 months will be quite interesting because we'll see a lot of the big projects coming into and moving into production, and I think that a lot of the folks in this space will probably we need to continue and focus on making things usable and sort of propagating them and educating the mass market on the benefits of using this new technology, and I think that really with everything that is going at the moment in the world, the economic changes that we see, I think it's a huge opportunity for everyone who is involved to really leverage, in a quite a weird way, to actually leverage that, because usually those are the point in time that you can actually create a disruption.
Definitely. And there is so much, I mean, I don't want to call it a perfect storm, but there's just so much going on in the world environment between COVID, what's going on in the US with unemployment, global recessions basically going on right now. And the whole point of crypto being made in the first place in response to the recession of 2008, just the attention that was on cryptocurrency, I think that might have started to really happen in the next 5 to 10 years. It's just been expedited, and a lot more eyes are looking into this space as an opportunity and as a way to really hedge against a lot of the world, everything that's happening in the world, between inflation and between just even some scenarios, hyperinflation. But as more attention is brought here, it's going to be more and more important for secure ways to be able to move money and to be secure in how I don't want to say it's just institutions, but just large quantities of money can be securely passed from institution to institution or person to person, and just having that quick and easy user experience and having all that flow. And I really just think your statement rings really strong, as well as, like, for everyone listening, Fireblocks could be a really good way for you to have an opportunity to be a little bit more, or feel a little bit more secure with how all of this is happening. So I really do appreciate you saying that, and for leaving all the information that you did today.
Yeah, thanks, Richard.
Of course.
I appreciate the time, and appreciate you guys inviting us to the podcast.
Of course. So what are some different ways that people can connect with you and learn more about Fireblocks?
Yeah, of course. So we have our website, fireblocks.com. If you are an institution, you can go to the website. There is a lot of information over there, videos and so on, white papers, and we provide trials and demos of the platform. So there is a button over there to request us to contact you and engage. And we're really looking forward to engage with as many folks as possible on the institutional space to make sure that we sort of transform it to something that is extremely secure. Just looking back at some of the things that Goldman published over the last week, a lot of what they mentioned was around the insecurity, and this clearly has to be resolved. And I think that it's up to all of us to make sure that we use the right tools, and definitely Fireblocks is something that can help there.
For sure. Well, again, make sure y'all connect with Michael and everything that's going on with Fireblocks. And for everyone listening, stay cryptocurrent. Hi, everyone. Thanks for listening to another episode of Cryptocurrent. For more information on this episode and all of our episodes, please visit us at www.crypto-current.co. Stay up to date with the latest news in cryptocurrency. You'll receive daily emails Monday through Friday that are personalized and curated content specific to you and your interest, powered by artificial intelligence. Are you an accredited investor looking to invest in cryptocurrency? Crescent City Capital can help. Go to crescentcitycapital.com for more information. If you're finding value in our content, please take 5 minutes to leave a 5-star review and a great comment. Also, please make sure to share this podcast with others. Hello, everyone. I hope you're enjoying the quality of this podcast. I can only thank my amazing producer, Andrew DeRitter, with DeRitter Productions, who has put this together. If you have any podcast, visual, or video needs, please go to DeRitterProductions.com. That's DERITTER Productions.com.
Thanks for tuning in to another episode of Cryptocurrent with Richard Carthon. We'll be back with more exciting developments from the world of blockchain and cryptocurrency next week. But until then, stay cryptocurrent.
Please use available exits now.